One of the things, I don't know if we learned this or, but it was quite clear, and maybe we didn't necessarily feel it in a visceral level. One of the examples that people were using in the context of the impeachment hearings to try and make people understand the stakes that were involved in this. And for the American people writ large, it was difficult to sort of accept this because, we don't pay attention to things that happen, to other countries. And for the left, on some level, I think it was difficult for them to appreciate this because, I don't like the idea of funding war. But one of the examples that people would use is like, imagine if New Orleans or, Florida was hit with a tsunami and Donald Trump said, you're not going to get any aid unless you do me some favors. Well, that was, and I know, I mean, I'm so old that I remember when people used that as an example in January. But when you hear about the failure of the federal government to provide ventilators, to provide personal protection services, to warn municipalities and states and provide some type of cohesive coordination in terms of response to this whole thing. When you hear the story of Donald Trump, when Washington State, when California, and when New York declare a state of emergency, what they are calling for is one of the reasons why they do that is because it makes them eligible for expanded unemployment insurance. And the White House has been holding up that money. That federal funding they have been sitting on it and they have not released it. And so when you hear that metaphor, that example, that analogy being used in the current context of impeachment, and you think, well, that's just theoretical. Welcome to 2 months later when it's not. Play this clip.
Have 50 governors on the call at the same time. No, I think we're doing very well. But, it's a two-way street. They have to treat us well also. They can't say, oh, gee, we should get this, we should get that. We're doing a great job, like in New York, where we're building, as I said, 4 hospitals, 4 medical. We're literally building hospitals and medical centers. And then I hear that, there's a problem with ventilators. Well, we sent them ventilators, and they could have had 15 or 16,000. All they had to do is order them 2 years ago, but they decided not to do it. They can't blame us for that.
There he is. They got to be nice to us. What I got to get good press or you don't get your little goodies like things that save people's lives. I mean, this guy's psychopath. Yeah. No, I'm not. I mean, that's not a news. It's not breaking news. I don't need.
I think in a way, I actually think in a way, especially for people on, the different parts of the left that I think have been, absolutely critical and correct in most of their takes about the resistance and absolutely correct in their takes about, various corporate media and so on. I think it was, I think actually in a way it's time to, especially for people who haven't been just repeating the same thing about Trump for 2 years, it's actually time to kind of come full circle and actually say, especially if you haven't been beating the same drum and you've been talking about a lot of different things like we do on this show, to actually remind everybody that it's not just, cynical Democratic leaders or people don't even have a plan for actually beating this guy. That in fact, he is a psychopath, right? Yep. Yes, it's a product of larger forces. There's bigger questions to take on. The situation's more complex than any individual. And yeah, you have a guy who is a personal psychopath at the head of a, I think we could call this system psychopathic in many respects, frankly. But it's important to get a little bit of a refresher course on this and not just, because you're right. It's sort of like, what else is new, Sam? Donald Trump is holding up ventilators because people, Andrew Cuomo isn't saying that he's a Roman god. You're really surprised by this? But we actually should take a moment to be like, yeah, that actually is kind of surprising. It's pretty effed up.
Right. I'm an American nationalist. I only care about our citizens. But unless they're mean to me, like if they're not saying the right thing, if you come at the king and you don't bring the proper the proper tribute, well, I mean, I'm a good king, but I'm not that good.
I also would say, though, just apropos of nothing, because it speaks to my fears. I think it was a good time to start telling Donald Trump, regardless of what you think of him, whether you think he's a psychopath or a good nationalist leader. Why is Bill Barr so disrespectful to him at press conferences?
Yeah,
he makes very weird faces while he talks. He never looks professional. I want a handsome attorney general. I don't know about you.
He looks a little schlubby.
Does not look the part.